Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus.
How's it going, everybody? How you doing? Everyone had like thoughts already, so I'll let them like immediately start. Oh, look, it's time for SYNCTANK. Okay. Who was going first? Well, all right. First, Thomas from Paranoid American. You were just saying that you had been trying to post your new video about adrenochrome.
Oh, well, we already said the word, so I guess we'll edit this later, maybe. But yeah, I've been trying to post a documentary that I did on adrenochrome. It's 20 minutes long, and I got a strike for just posting it as a draft originally, and I submitted it to see if it could be monetized, and it came back deleted with a strike on my account, like the whole nine, and they showed me the reason was because at 1 minute and 15 seconds in, I had the word adrenochrome on the screen. There was no audio, nothing, just
the word.
So that got me flagged. I didn't appeal. Sorry, we've denied your appeal, and they cited that it was for violent hate speech and like inciting violence and all this stuff. So
why didn't you make a new video called Adrenochrome a good thing or something like that?
Well, because again, they flagged it on just having the word on the screen. It was on the side of a vial. It was a picture of an actual sample.
And you know what else too? If it happened immediately, that wasn't a person looking at that.
Well, no, this one it was being reviewed for about 10 days, and on day 11 it came back and it said could not be monetized, because it's like hateful speech or something. So I hit appeal of like, hey, take another look. I think your AI program flagged this incorrectly, and it came back within an hour and it said appeal denied, and it came with a warning because it's a brand new YouTube account, which is the same as like your first strike. It's like your free strike. So anyways, I went through the video and I censored every mention of adrenochrome in the audio, and I had to blur out the word. And then for the title, I had to come up with some stupid decoder words. So it's now called Thrill Oxide, Stone Cutters, and MK Ultron, because if I put Freemasons in the title, then it gave that little like box under the video that's like Freemasons or such and such. And then if I had MK Ultra, I did a similar thing under the video. So I was like, I don't want it to be in any weird special category with asterisks next to it. So I had to edit the whole thing down. But that's a whole separate story. What I was getting into is that, ironically, my research into adrenochrome uncovered this research from this center. It's a think tank run by ex-CIA, ex-FBI, a lot of like strategists. There's an MI6 sort of guy that used to be there. And they wrote this report in April of 2021 called the QAnon Conspiracy. And in that report, which was then given to Congress and given to Silicon Valley specifically, it mentions like all of the unspeakable terms, and it's very specific about anything adrenochrome related, anything like trafficking related, and a whole bunch of election interference allegations, like anything that you might think would be tied to like the January 6th crowd. They actually have this in a document, and adrenochrome is among all of those things. So by mentioning adrenochrome, you immediately get categorized into QAnon, January 6th, like that whole entire crowd. And in my mind, the adrenochrome is the new term conspiracy theory. When people used to say, oh, JFK got assassinated, so then they made conspiracy theorists this way to just discount people. Well, that's the new QAnon. That's the new adrenochrome. It's to like just discount you by a word.
I thought that they were trying to mainstream it because, like, I've seen all this stuff about drugs available for sale, adrenochrome, carbide.
I've been trying for the last year. It is not easy to get a hold of, even from China or anywhere.
But they want you to know it exists.
Sorry, go ahead. Adrenochrome is documented on the National Institute of Health site. I just dropped the link. Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, if you want to talk, if you say you want to openly discuss COVID, it's all on HIN. You know, I just dropped the link. It's all official. I mean, you should just say, hey, it's on the National NIH website.
Who do you say it to, though? Who do you say that to when YouTube sends you a strike and then say we've reviewed it and denied it and you can't appeal this again?
We could have opened with Barbenheimer. We'll get back to that.
That's related too.
Yeah, I think it does. But here's the thing. I mean, if everyone's saying the name of the thing is associated with this, is that the issue? It's like it's associated with QAnon.
If you even say the word, then now your video is going to be classified as it gets scored. You know, the AI thing gives a bunch of weights to how much your video is one thing over the other. So by mentioning the word adrenochrome 80 times in 20 minutes, it probably just got itself put into the corner, you know, and baby doesn't like
we're well on the way to doing that with this video. Let me just really quickly say thank you, Wyatt, for the 999. We missed you very much. Stephen Callan, it's the return of Stephen Callan. It's the return of the wait, no way, you're kidding. He didn't just say what I think he did. Did he? Written, performed by Marshall Mathers, this Eminem one hit wonder, the real Slim Shady. I was just recently thinking about M&M's in 2000. I think there's something to that. So, but okay, adrenochrome. That's fun. I think we've said it enough times.
And let me just throw out, this inspired me to make the website occultdecode.com, which has a gematria calculator. If we ever want to throw one up on the screen, and like I can do custom, you know, all kinds of cool stuff. And then right under that is that banned word list. So if you type the so there's the value, and then type it in there, and you'll see what the decode should be.
Blurred up the word 50.
There you go. And then you can unclick the share screen share mode to unblur it. So that's specifically if you're on a rant and you want to talk about something, but you can't talk about it. You can stream it and type it here, and it won't show it on the screen.
Real.
So if you want to.
Then I like
there it is.
Well, also recently, did you guys see that in Romania they discovered Bronze Age homes and statues and everything? There's a recent discovery of like an entire bronze civilization in Romania, which was like lost. So it's all of a sudden this last week, and they think that they're also large-sized people, which is kind of interesting.
Two things we need to talk about. We need to talk about Andrew Tate living in Romania and adrenochrome by the Transylvania people. You
know, I mean, one thing I noticed, I was looking at all these Metkovich art pieces in Croatia, and he's got like a lot. There's a lot of elongated Christs. You're like, oh my gosh, these are so long. These people, like, what was he taking that he was decided to just stretch out these? They go outside and I look around and I realize there's a bunch of like 7 foot tall people. There are a lot of these really stretched out people that were living there. So there are, you know,
you were in Croatia, right?
Yeah, and I mean the whole kind of Yugoslavian area, Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Isn't that where supposedly like the longest people are, you know, like the Croatians? I mean, I have some Serbian friends. They're like limbs wise.
They look really long. It's so for sure. They get really long, like longer than me for sure. Like you see these people. They make David look, you know, kind of small.
Right, but they measure from the base of their balls, so it's not quite accurate.
Different measurement system. It's taken out, right?
I feel like it would be interesting if like a bunch of tall people voluntarily decided to just only mate with tall people, like a friendly, voluntary opt-in version of, you know, what they maybe forcibly did.
Giants. Yeah, it's mostly the Potsdam Giants. It's mostly like somebody else who's pushing it. I've seen a lot of like really tall people with like short people. It seems like they're kind of into each other.
So it's kind of the Great Dane phenomenon, but for people, right?
I like the
Those are
101
specially created to be
Dalmatians. Maybe 101 Dalmatians a bit fascistic, but just the way there's like a dog for everybody or something like that. Did you know that Machu Picchu was discovered just about 100 years ago to the day yesterday?
discovered.
Yes, rediscovered, I guess is the better word. I like that.
So it was discovered 723 or
So was it 1911? So not quite, but like discovered July 24th, and it's July 25th today. So it was just recently anniversary of the lost Machu Picchu discovery.
Reminds me of Livingstone discovering the source of the Nile.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing about colonialism, right? They discover all these things. It's incredible.
Is that a place you've been?
Machu Picchu? Yeah, for sure.
That's like
I've seen pictures on there with Pikachu.
I want to just mention this before you change subject to South America. I mean, since we're talking about bloodline in Europe,
and Alex has a story.
Yeah, but this guy, he just came on the New York Times. He was interviewed. He's like the Habsburg. He's like he's supposed to be. I mean, if they were World War I, he would have been the prince of the whole Roman Empire. I just dropped a link. You can look into it. His name is Well, his name is Habsburg. So I thought it's interesting that they're mentioning him now that we're almost near World War III, and here comes this guy speaking about his family.
Someone brought up an interesting topic the other day, and that it's
where'd you link it?
Oh yeah, I just dropped it in the mailbox.
Oh, in X. Are you Xing?
In the Xbox. You put it in the Xbox.
You X'd me? Okay. All right. This is the Habsburg boy. That's right. I heard about this guy. The prince.
Yeah, I don't know what. He's a race car driver now. I don't know if it's
That's a safe life for a royal. All right.
Yeah, but I don't know why he's speaking out right now. I think he's trying to reclaim himself.
That's cool. I saw a movie recently, like The Lost King, Richard III. Did you guys hear about this? About like 10 years ago, there was this lady who was obsessed with Richard III. She saw some Shakespeare play, and she's like, "This is not real." And then she joined some weird group called the Ricardians, which were like an online group, kind of similar to Tartarians or something. And they would meet up and talk about how it was Tudor propaganda and how they doctored the paintings to make Richard look like a hunchback and all these things. And she had the thought that his body wasn't destroyed and it could be found. And this was important because they thought he was a usurper. But it looks like he wasn't really a usurper, and more likely the current crown is the usurping crown. So eventually they found his body because they were able to find a map of London, because London's changed a lot. And underneath, let me see if I can find an old London map. Basically, they would burn down churches and build new ones. But because people were superstitious, some of the old churches became parking lots. So she was able to find a parking lot near another church, which was the old church. And then underneath the reserved parking, under the letter R, literally, she found the remains of Richard III. So then they were exhumed, and after like a decade, they eventually put the royal arms, coat of arms, on his grave. And
somebody here makes the point that London burned down several times. So what years are we talking about here? That was 1666. All of London burned, basically.
Right, Richard III's before that by 250 years or something like that. 1485. He's the last king in the Plantagenet line, right? So if you remember the girl in Santa Cruz who has the president's map. President plan.
Yeah,
she's actually
the French girl.
Technically, yeah. President's map. Where's that? Santa Cruz or Watsonville girl?
Monte Vista. Put that. It'll come up. Monte Vista is the school that she went to.
I don't know if I can find it just that easily.
I think the word map is throwing it off.
Yeah,
chart,
I think so.
Chart, maybe.
Chart, yeah.
Well, if I spell it right, nothing good. There we go. 12-year-old girl discovers all presidents. Anything? And no picture. They don't really want you to see it.
Yeah, dead internet theory, right?
Wow.
Well, no, it's all certified. Everybody's related to King John Lackland, besides Martin Van Buren. He's the only one who's not related to him.
Dang, I can't even find the picture. So the point is, John Plantagenet signed the Magna Carta against his will, and then he's removed from the throne. And so all of a sudden you have a new line that's put in charge, which is coming from the House of Windsor eventually, right? But this is before the House of Windsor.
I just look up the name. You can copy the name. It's in the chat.
Bridge and Divignon. Okay.
Actually, she was my friend on Facebook, and then she annoyed the hell out of me. She wants to be an actress, so I'm like, well, what am I gonna do with you?
That's pretty funny.
I got kicked out of her school.
Oh, you were in this school? Well,
I went to Monte Vista. Yeah, I got kicked out because the kid went to. I got kicked out because the kid went to kick me, and I lifted his foot straight up, and so gravity took him backwards, and he hit the back of his head on concrete and suffered a concussion. And so the parents got really upset, and it was basically like I was kind of towards the end of the school year, and I was told I wouldn't be invited back. So for all intents and purposes, I got expelled from this girl's school. But yeah,
horrifying. She made this map, and it's got every president, and they're all to the center, showing their connection to the Plantagenet line, which is interesting because that puts them in the Richard III line, and there's a bunch of genetic evidence to show the Richard III line. But Richard III is usurped.
Richard III is the Lionheart, isn't he?
That Lackland's interesting too because of Lackland Air Force Base, which is where every single Air Force member gets trained. I'm sure. I mean, it's not based on Richard III, but it's based on his namesake. Which, if we're talking about presidents being related to him, might as well throw in military installations in there.
Right, and then so you get Henry VII and Henry VIII. I am.
Where was the hold on, I was trying to read the War of the Roses part of that. So that was he
Tudors.
House of Tudor. This is how the House of Tudor takes over the War of the Roses, and also rose is because of the Hebrew word rosh for skull, right? So that's the reason for that.
So I've heard, yeah. And so what's interesting too is the film War of the Roses is the third part it's a third of a trilogy that's Romancing a Stone, Jewel of the Nile. And so it's actually people don't realize it's the same actors or whatever, but if you watch that movie War of the Roses, the whole thing kind of centers around this one little statue that they both want. That's how they met, was at an auction. And so he said, Michael Douglas's character says, if you give me this one thing, you can have the house and everything. And then that thing breaks in the scuffle or whatever. So that's like the end of they destroy the thing that's at least archetypally the whole trilogy is kind of centered around. So it goes from the stone to the jewel, and then this is the culmination of the story. In that case, it's really kind of.
If you look at the name, the Jewel of the Denial.
More twists and turns in Game of Thrones, right? Yeah.
That was a country western song, by the way, Eddie, where it was I'm the Queen of Denial from the 90s, I think.
Oh, I went to Disneyland recently also, and I have to bring up something about Star Wars later, remind me. But okay, before I get too deep into learning more about Richard III, archaeologists discovered the most ancient statues in Egypt this last week. And there's another they're finding a whole bunch of new stuff. I don't know how real this is. I kind of get the feeling that they're trying to justify that they're building a new citadel city-state for the administrative government, and they're like, look at all this cool stuff that we're finding. Cleopatra was discovered, Mask of Marcus Antonius, Mark Antony, things from the Caesar Civil War period. Basically.
Right. They also like to doctor things. So it's like that one guy who had the head of Goliath. They made a movie about it with Sam Rockwell, where it's he dug up a gargantuan Israeli wrestler, and they cracked its skull to say it was the stone that hit Goliath or whatever. It was just so I don't always trust archaeology.
How much does it cost to start my own statue repair company that just puts my face on everything? After ISIS goes out.
Something just made the news, right? Some French museum. I forgot what is a famous one, but they say that 40% of the artifacts were all faked.
Well, the Louvre. I mean, and I think it's a good. I can't even spell Louvre right now. Louvre. I think you ought to fake things for people because it's good enough for the layman, for the plebeian, and you don't need them to go throwing soup on art. You know what I mean?
Hey, you guys know how many windows are in the Louvre on that pyramid?
666, right?
You got it. Yeah, I can't tell Thomas anything.
Well, it's designed by Taiwanese. I am Pei.
Oh, really? Let's go.
Yeah.
I like that.
He is who?
So he's an architect who designed it.
Well, let's get we'll get to Taiwan. Actually, there's some stuff about that coming up too. But let's talk about X. I mean, X is everywhere. X is ubiquitous now. I'm really excited about this as an Xirtus. I feel like you go everything trending is X, Exeter, Xting.
I'm excited about all the DMX memes that are going to come out of this with like X going to bring it to you and everything else.
Right, exactly. He's exerting X. That's what's going on.
Did you see the photo that? Here, let me just drop this one.
Well, you're gonna exit again. See, I like saying Xing better.
You know the stance, right? You know the mummy stance, right? The Freemason, the hand gesture.
Right. He did the nice hand sign.
The rise of Osiris, or what's it called? Osiris.
It's Assyrian. Also like the first thing I visualized, and I don't know if you guys can relate, but I visualized the like two hammers from Pink Floyd's The Wall. But I mean, X's are so common. It's a sync resonator, right? Because you can just go, that's really
it just feels fascistic. It feels like ideological. It feels culturally.
It's like just so plain and just.
It's also
nothing.
like
it's everything.
It's also,
but it feels like nothing really.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it by hook or by crook? Isn't that related to that?
There's a certain body language that crossing yourself says too.
Actually,
like it's kind of like saying it feels like he's saying no in a way. Also, like it's not necessarily that I even believe it, but that it feels like he's at least branding X as no, we're not part of that. We're the group that we're not going to do what they're asking us to do. Whatever that is.
24 too, and that's 6 versus just 6, and
and then Jack said the most important thing I feel like is the Greek chi is the thing. We should be saying chi when we look at it. I feel like that's really what it is. It's the chi.
Yeah.
Right, but what's weird is if you look at the origins of the letter X from the older Phoenician and stuff, it's like you don't actually see an X, right? I mean, there's the T. The T has its roots as an X symbol from ancient times, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a book that shows all.
There's K's, G's, T's, V's, D's also get confused, and CH's. But the Chi.
Andrea, look up Osiris Risen.
X is also the opposite of O. It's like X
Cyrus
totally.
Which is
So basically, this is.
Oh yeah.
So we also get into Kabbalah roots, right, David? That when yeah, there you go. They all know what to do.
Okay.
Right, but I'm thinking like you guys know hooker by crook, the Egyptian thing where he has like the
right
staff.
That was it right there.
Yeah.
But his hands were closed versus open.
Right, so he has this kind of what's the other tool called? So what's the whip? He's got like a whip type looking thing, and he's got the shepherd's pole. Yeah. So I can't remember the deal there. There's an old Always Record where we talked a ton about this.
It's basically saying it's one is strength and one is soft control. One is like severely punished, right, through whip.
Right,
and
there you go.
The shepherd's guidance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The whip also represents creating out of sound, because I think like Abraxas has a whip, but his whip is like used to direct his horses, but it's also used to create objects, where nothing was there before.
That's true. Manly P. Hall in Secret Teachings of All Ages has a whole section on what you just said.
I know. Also, Alex, you were thinking a bit about like because really what X is trying to do is not just brand. I mean, he's got a sigil of magic that he's branding. We get that, and it's cool. We'll go into that more as time goes on. But he wants to do something pretty concrete, right? He's trying to compete with WeChat. He wants to build the everything app, and he wants it to be a bank, right?
Yeah,
also, Jack Dorsey,
like he wants it to be half the old financial system or something.
Yeah, the financial system, more than a bank, an AI system that helps.
Some people are going to say like, "Oh, this is the pathway to the social credit score, communist China takeover."
But you know,
and maybe it is, but maybe it isn't.
PayPal was X.com before it was PayPal.com.
Yeah,
right.
It all ties into this thing that I want to tell you guys about, that I fear for, because it concerns like a crypto network and
pump and dump. All right, guys. So we're gonna tell you right now. Put all your money into this thing. If you don't put all your,
no,
I'm just kidding.
Hey, you know what? I don't know if I mentioned it last. It's been so long. Remember Jack Dorsey? He's going to have his own new Twitter coming out. It's called
Nostr. Yeah, Nostr. It's already out, really. Well, no,
already out. So we got a lot of weird blue syncs going on, right? And we got the Bluebird is out, and
What's
then
the
we
new
have
thing called?
And if you look at Bluebird, Blue Sky is basically you can connect it with the Total Recall of Philip Cape Dick, the Blue Sky on Mars, right? And we're talking about Mars with Elon Musk.
I mean, remember that
Mars.
time Columbus actually turned the world blue or sailed the ocean blue? He did that thing, And before that, the world was a better place.
Alex, can you lay on us what it is that you're talking about? Because it seemed like you have a whole.
Say no to pump and dump and all, but we still want to know.
Yeah, this is not financial advice. But this is just some syncs that I found, and I guess it's kind of a story because somebody like last year messaged me on Twitter with a lot of gematria, just streams of stuff and theories concerning, and it concerned connections between Elon Musk and this one crypto protocol, which is it's called 0x. It's ZRX is the token, and it's out of San Francisco. It's just one of the many different crypto venture capital cryptos out there, and it's kind of unknown. Anyway, it's 0x, and so this guy was basically telling me that I hope he doesn't mind me revealing all this stuff because he's just appeared off Twitter and he liked to delete his account and then come back and then delete it again. So I haven't heard from him in a while. But anyway, so now X is live, and Elon wants to make it a financial payment app, and everybody thinks he's going to use Doge, Dogecoin, because that's what he talks about all the time. But then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, what about this kind of schizo guy theory? And so I was just looking into it more, and I noticed that on the Wikipedia page for X.com, if you can go to it or whatever, you can find the founding date of when Elon repurchased X from PayPal and he relaunched X.com. It was on July 14th, 2017. And then you go to 0x Protocol and you find that they came out on the exact same day. Like they launched on July 14th, 2017. He launched X.com and 0x Protocol launched as a crypto network and it goes to this day.
Oh, interesting. It's like, dude, yeah, no, totally. That reminds me of like when Facebook very first started, like its first day was the same day that, maybe Thomas, maybe you remember what it was called or somebody, the surveillance program from the FBI that just got shut down the exact same day. What is it called? Do you know?
InQtel was the investment branch.
That's not what I'm thinking of. It was fuck, I can't remember. But
what
anyway,
year? What year are you talking?
The year that Facebook started. It was the day and year that Facebook started. Was the day and year that they dropped their profiling.
It was called I'll have to look it up. It was called like the People Finder something or other.
Yeah, but whatever, you get the idea. It's just like, dude, that's pretty on point, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, it really I didn't pay much mind until I saw the overlapping of dates, and that just was like, whoa. Because it makes, like I said, Doge is a joke, and it's not a real developing thing. It's just kind of
it
makes sense that he would do that, but it's far-fetched, and but it just fascinated me. And also because I learned that X.com originally was founded in March 99, which was when Kubrick died. Mm-hmm. And actually I learned too that InfoWars launched. Kubrick died the day after InfoWars launched.
Really?
Which is insane. Yeah.
Really? I never heard that before. That's fascinating. Yeah, and then Eyes Wide Shut was released a year to the day of the infiltration of Bohemian Grove by Alex.
And then just 2 days ago, Vivian Kubrick did a 3-hour interview with Owen Benjamin on 723.
Right.
Where she's talking about her dad and aliens and whatever. And Asteroid City too. Did you see Asteroid City, David?
Bill's been. We're gonna project it maybe tonight. I don't know. Maybe
you
tomorrow.
Watch it. I got a long tweet thread about it. But anyway,
You did mention that Elon Musk launched X on July 23rd, right? Did you mention that?
Yes. Oh no, I didn't. I didn't. You're right.
Yeah.
He
So
announced it.
Can we acknowledge how like so that's excuse me, not national, but that's a Santa Cruz holiday. Santa Cruz, California has a official holiday for Robert Anton Wilson Day, and I guess it's because of Sirius, because the bunny that he interacted with was said to be from Sirius or something. So it's like 723 is the first day of the dog days. Sirius translates as the scorcher because of heat, and so the ancient Egyptians would use Sirius to gauge where the Nile was going to be because they knew it was the hottest days of the year. So yeah, here you go. Do they give another there's two explanations I've seen on different sites why 723. So there seems to be some discrepancy from people about it.
I know Raw was into 23. 23 was Burroughs liked it, and then once Robert Anton Wilson read Burroughs' obsession with the 23 Enigma, he's like, that's weird, and started following him as well. He said,
I just feel like if I talk about this subject and Will Morgan listens, he's gonna be raging at me again for any little thing that I don't have accurate. So which is good. Actually, that's a good friend.
Yeah.
You need people like that in your life,
Man, I didn't realize there were so many different books by him.
Oh man, he's extremely prolific. Yeah, and so he lived in Capitola actually. So I used to ride my bike by his house when I was growing up. And I didn't know until after he died that if you stopped by there, like if you knocked on his door, anybody, he would invite you in for tea. He'd have talks with people all the time. People just went in and out of there.
So if you guys know a decent amount about Raw, I'm curious what his overlap, if anyone, was Ivan Stang from the Bob Dobbs cult. I forgot what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there any between, because it was Discordianism and then there's the Principia Discordia, right?
So I feel like who could talk better on this would be Ivan, because he did an interview with Mark, right? From My Family Thinks I'm Crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen that, but like he probably says to some degree like their interaction. But there, it was he lived on the East Coast, and I think you could say, Robert Anton Wilson was from the East Coast. We moved to the West Coast. It was staying over there. So they were probably interacting like a little bit, but not too much. But at the end of the day, like he was definitely reading his stuff. And Bob Dobbs is pretty much Robert Anton Wilson. Like that seems like kind of the basis for his existence. Mm-hmm. Although I'd like to hear Ivan say that himself.
The Bob Dobbs from Canada.
So then there's Thomas, you should. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just want to bring this up real quick because the Dog Star, Keanu Reeves is going to put out his new album right in time for July.
What, still with Dog Star?
Well, his band is still there, Dog Star. Yeah,
his band is still Dog Star. He still does music with Dog Star.
He does.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. As he still,
we are back.
Well, the Roxy.
So, but the timing is impeccable, right?
Sure. This is that time of year, so there you go.
Andreas, I just dropped the link. You can look at it.
I'm back.
But I thought the band was disbanded, but yeah, they're obviously still struggling.
Bringing the band back together.
Yeah, dude. There's
party on.
Also, this is Call at the Comic-Con, and he looks amazing. Gotta admit, like there's a solid mall right there.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 for sure.
The best smaller is Darth Call. Keanu Reeves' rock band Dog Star released first album in 23
years.
Wow.
There you go. Of course.
It's just a coincidence. Whoa. Come on.
Something's going on to Circle K, dude.
Announced on July 19th. Wow. Yeah. Kick off their 25-plus date headline in North America and Japan. Okay. So they're doing this literally for no other reason than they want to. I mean, that's for sure. That's awesome.
It looks just ceremonial. That's what it really is.
Yeah, it's ceremonial blast off. What about? I had something there. Taiwanese large chip maker. What about this? You're gonna do it.
They're gonna build a new campus. Yeah.
So in North Taiwan, though, right?
Yeah, I didn't read. I didn't get a chance to read the whole article, but they're spending a lot of money on it. And,
so I mean, it sounds like I was under the impression they were scared to invest in building new facilities in Taiwan until after they had the war sorted out. Where is this coming from, and who is this banking on? Is this banking on PRC taking over Taiwan?
Well, I mean, it's well, yesterday they just had a huge military drill, and Taiwan sent 2.9 billion. They sent 29 jet fighters over to Taiwan airspace. So I don't know. It's getting close. My dad's not saying anything about it, but I think it's getting pretty darn close. But the campus in Arizona, I don't know what's happening to that one. They haven't really like fully staffed that location, and but I have a feeling that this is going to be, because this new campus is going to be dedicated for AI. It's for advanced AI. Like, because the demand for AI chips are so high right now that I have no doubt that this is the Terminator factory. I mean, there's already we already have Skynet, but this is the
I think it's worse.
And it's so appropriate that this is all happening on the backs of video game technology, right? Like, it started with graphics processing units, so all of this is based on video games.
And
it's all simulated reality. That's what it is.
It's more crypto mining.
Seems crazy to me, though. They're saying they're going to do this, and there's about to be a war, so they don't know whether or not this is going to be like China or America. But I guess they're thinking whomever gets it, they'll be able to sell their chips, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, it's like in all the movies, they'll predict it. Armageddon rises, from the ashes of AI. So you have to start it. You have to start a damn war.
What's that, Alex?
Oh, I've got something to share. You should go to brilliantlightpower.com. I got this from my friend Sean. This is
Fella?
Yeah, Sean Fell. This is basically free energy that's coming soon and being worked on, which I'm not the most technically minded guy when it comes to this sort of thing, but it's really legit. Basically drawing energy from water, but and I don't know what to even say about it other than exciting times and what that's going to do for what this kind of thing is going to do, because it's going to change everything.
Wow. So this says optical power or radiation transfers power at 10 to 100 times the power per area compared to conduction and convection of combustion in nuclear power plants. So this
basically power a city with a thing on.
Aren't they just essentially like boiling water for nuclear energy? Isn't that like essentially what's going on?
That's the thing. That's the whole debate going on right now. Well, at least in my mind, is nuclear, are nuclear bombs real, and is nuclear power real? Some people think neither are. Some people think one is, the other is.
Did anybody here see Jake Coates' recent video, or Kotze, or however you say it? Have you seen his recent stuff? Dude, it's tripping me out. Like, he's just it's classic Kotze, still going strong. But like, he was showing like the barbecue thing. So like when you say like Barbie, and like that's like if you're in Australia or whatever, they're like barbecue. And then he was I'm not going to do this justice. But he was connecting the Oppenheimer thing with the black hole sun. And then he shows that in the Black Hole Sun music video, they actually roast a Barbie in a barbecue. So it's just like sound synchronicity. But like I was tripping out. Like, it's like this has happened before, where like films will come out at the same time that are really opposite, and there'll be these big blockbusters, But this one does feel like it has some special symbolism, like back and forth going on,
And the fact that it kind of shut out Mission Impossible, because it's really a trio of huge fucking movies.
Yeah.
And
I really think
Tom Cruise and Christopher Nolan have always been philosophically opposed, and they've always like timed their movies against each other. Mark Claire used to have a big theory that they were in sort of a wizard war.
Totally. I'm with you on that. I think wizard wars are very real and go on with the Hollywood magic, so to speak. Yeah.
What was the one but between Crowley and someone else had a badass wizard war?
Yeah, we're looking at like Grant. What's his name? Grant Morris and
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore.
That's
yeah. But who did you just say, Thomas?
I'll have to look it up, because I was working on a comic about it called Wizard War, but it was between Aleister Crowley and
Israel Regardie.
Oh man, I don't know.
Is it Crowder Ashad?
The thing is, it feels like Barbenheimer.
Yeah, it could have been Frater Achad. That would make sense.
Barbenheimer is so mainstream. Like everyone's talking
Right.
about it. It's like a thing that they're telling people to do, like synchronicity on mainstream. Hey, everybody, there's a thing where there's two movies and you synchronize them in some way.
You know when I put together, dude, thank you so much, Alex, by the way, for sharing that thing with Night Skies, because it's just like responding to that, because I was like, it's tripping me out, because I was like, I wasn't doing that consciously, like I was like, because it's an old pairing that I did with the transparency, and to watch films with transparency like that, they're the same length to the second ET and Poltergeist. So it's just, I don't know, man. I this was kind of, I didn't completely even make that connection until you pointed it out, and then I'm like, oh, that's basically they're suggesting doing the same thing.
Oh yeah. The kid from Moonrise Kingdom was sharing that, and I was trying to get his attention to watch one of your movies.
This is from the remake here of Poltergeist, but yeah. So
I have a feeling that now with the Oppenheimer becoming mainstream, everybody's talking about quoting the I become death, right? Destroyer of all worlds. And so it's like people are making T-shirts out of it now, and so we're looking like basically I think they're trying to create this opposing opposite. So I don't know if Barbie really represents Vishnu or Dharma, basically creation, right? Creation and Shiva, the destroyer.
Hey Eddie, I got a question for you. Sorry to interrupt. But I want to know. I've been posing this to people in certain ways, because I'm kind of trying to figure out what's going on with the strike situation a little bit. Like, just because when we first were talking about it, when I was first looking at it, it seemed like it was strictly like an issue of AI in the future, kind of like safeguarding people's jobs for the future. And it seems like they just got completely shot down. Like I saw that document that was just basically like a middle finger to that. And ever since then, since that happened, it seems to be all about wages. Is this a situation where they had their ambition, they realized that this is a dead end, and then they compromised the strike as though it were always just about wages? Like, am I tripping, or did we completely switch gears on what it's about?
So I explained it to you, just being in the business, that it's always been a dead end negotiation. I never trusted union. I belong to unions, but the union delegates, they're all just trying to buy time. They're trying to get us a 3% increase, every annual increase, and then they pat each other on the back. But they all go to the same lodges, okay? They're all the same Shriners, okay? I know these people. I worked with them for 20 years, right? So these people are, they control opposition. They're basically,
you got to get invited to Bohemian Grove to make that real paper.
Yeah. So basically, us workers who are, I went to the picket fence, right across the street. I'm down the street from Walt Disney, and it was just watching these idiots, and everybody is low-paying grunts. All these writers. I never heard of these guys. These writers, they all like the revisionists or whatever. Who do episodic. So the whole point, the biggest problem right now is not AI. Is actually the model of the business. Streaming really is a dead end. I mean, I don't want to say it's not making money, but the executives cannot figure out how to split the profit, and that's what everybody is trying to get their
right. But it went from a problem of the future to a right now problem. Like, it went from like we're trying to safeguard something because we see it as a threat to like, oh shit, that's not happening.
Well, my understanding. My understanding was that it started out as a wage thing for streaming, and then AI just happened to like coincide with it, so it got tacked on.
Thank you.
But the actual execs, dude, like when it came to the AI thing, they just flicked that thing like it was a crumb on their pants. Like,
okay. So, but it didn't actually start with the AI thing. That's just where I jumped in.
It didn't. But here's the problem. Our union, the head of all, the mother of all unions, IATSE, right? I International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Artists. They basically just say that we're okay with AI.
And then simultaneously they're like removing a capacity of AI. So people are thinking, AI is really not that creative.
They just they even published the whole guideline, like how to work with AI. We have some workshops. I mean, we don't need workshops. We haven't decided if it's legal or not. This is theft. I keep every art. We have a civil war in the art directors guild right now. And there's a bunch of punks that are trying to say that it doesn't matter, especially the production designers. These production designers are all for AI, and I say these AI production designers are basically the bossing us around in our department. I'm part of our department as a storyboard artist. So these guys want to eliminate all these grunts like us to save the money for the studios. So and then they're total hypocrites. They'll start making AI art all over the place, and then when they realize, people are protesting, but but they're trying to act like they're on our side, but they're not.
Was Ryan Gosling in Somebody in the Real Girl? What was it called?
Lars
what was that
and the
movie?
Real Girl.
Yeah, Lars and the Real Girl, and
I've
then
turned
he's in
myself
Blade
off
Runner.
right
Is he a replicant in the new Blade Runner? I feel like he was,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
Well,
Okay.
actually, I don't know. I think
Everybody's
just,
a replicant, man.
Yeah, but
all
I'm noticing a archetype casting sync thread there.
Yeah.
We're all toasters. That's what
I gotta
Well,
say, I'm
yeah,
sorry,
sorry,
Eddie, but I'm with Skynet on this one. Like, I don't see AI art as theft. I know for a fact you can train something to steal someone's style.
The problem is that they're losing the capacity that AI has, so it's actually becoming more like that.
Tons of friends who can prove that AI has been using their our station artwork posted in public has been you can trace it.
I don't doubt any of that. There's a site right now that you can look up and see what certain tokens were sourced from. And because I did that when I was training my Epstein model, I noticed that the default Stable Diffusion library that was trained, it always gave like the exact same image of Epstein. And when I went into the database, you could see that it's because it had scraped tens of thousands of newspaper articles, but all the newspaper articles were using the same damn mugshot everywhere. Right. And that's why it only knew about that one version of them. So you can find like things from DeviantArt and ArtStation and all over the place. Even the biggest thing going against them, I think, was Shutterstock or one of those sites. Getty, right? Getty had the biggest one because you can reliably see Getty image watermarks on things if you give it the right prompt.
That's $4 trillion lawsuit that's going on. It hasn't ended yet.
But I still don't think any of that is stealing. I still don't. Even if we agree that it was trained on copyrighted material without consent.
I tell you what, it's not going to go away. It's a very frustrating thing for the. For
we're about to have the much scarier thing, which is that OpenAI is going to help the governments build agencies which will control intelligence and work. And they'll decide which jobs they're going to continue having people do. I mean, and that's going to be weird because those jobs are going to exist for what reason? I mean, if you have 1,000 people that have to dig with shovels, give them spoons, right? So that they have to have 1 million people digging or something like that, 100,000. That's what we're getting to with that logic. If we're starting to force AI to stop working. And more people are going to think that because it doesn't work, there's no reason for them to compete with AI. And there'll be like 4 companies that have super intelligence and accurate AI, while the rest of us are just allowed to exist for their amusement.
You know what they need to produce? They need to produce AI consumers. They need to make robotic consumers because human consumers are going to die out. There won't be any cash for me to spend a robotic created.
That's not a bad idea at all.
But I mean, I think because the original idea, which I still think is interesting on Ethereum and other sort of tokens like the ERC token or whatever, ERC20, right, is that it could, or something like it could evolve to be this new currency of the future where now you've got 2 different computer systems that are negotiating about AI programs are like, I'll pay you this much for your attention. No, I'll pay you this much plus this fraction of a penny. And then all of a sudden, I just wonder if there's any point in our long future ahead of us in AI, if AI will ever commission AI to make artwork for even a fraction of a penny, if it'll ever be worth AI's own, energy.
They've already done that. They've gotten AI to purchase things on the dark web, and it bought drugs randomly.
They've been trading cryptos too.
And if you wanted it to have incentive for it, you just have to build into its priorities, so it increases priority that it has to.
Well, but I just mean on its own. If it ever hits that self realization point, will art ever be produced again unless a human specifically asks a computer to do it? Or
for a computer, wouldn't you say self-realization, when people talk about that, wouldn't those be 2 points that aren't necessarily like one before the other, but like across from each other? Like, what is self-realization for a computer? What is the computer self?
Probably just
So you Demon Seed?
right.
Yeah, I don't
He wants
know.
to be good at math. I think he just wants to be right.
Demon Seed. Can anybody hear me? I can't even tell.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody said my mic was bad earlier. I changed
your mic is up. Mine might be too. Mine does that sometimes.
It sounds better now. Stefan says an Xirtus level AI wielding genius with 5 underlings can now outpace the output of 50 animators, both in volume and in range of styles. It is what it is. This is true, and I think that as time goes on, it'll matter more how to direct AI, and they will still need Eddie, because it's going to say, okay, now we need the tweeners to be AI, but the actual design, someone has to go in. No, you don't think
it'll be the other way.
When you asked me like 2 or 3 months ago, I'm all like guns ablaze saying F this, F that, but I see it coming. I mean, I told you the story with my animation teacher, right, from Disney, Larry White. He's a supervisor on the Beauty and the Beast, the wolf pack animation. You know, the wolf we're trying to eat the.
He was
Bill,
like,
right?
he's like the guy giving you a call, like, get out of the towers. There's a plane coming.
No, I ran into him on the street, you know, and this guy's always so cool and so funny. And then he was just dead serious. His eyes were bugging, just like, Eddie, how's career going? You graduated, right? Yeah. I'm storyboarding now. So you gotta learn Silicon graphics. You gotta learn Maya. Maya I didn't come out yet. It was you know, those big clunky refrigerator size, you know, Silicon graphics engine. You know, that's what Disney was trying to force him to do. You know, 20,000 people. You know, they got chopped. You know, they did the axe dropped on 20,000 in betweeners, cleanup artists, all these like these trivial artists.
I used to use one of these things and I would sit on it while I
used
it.
That's a beauty. Yeah, that was the state of the art machine over there. When I worked at Squaresoft, that was what we used. But that's what my teacher was saying. You gotta learn this. And so why? Because they dropped. Because you know they already fired 20,000 people and computers taking over. You gotta learn computers. I'm like, I'm still doing pencils, man.
When did you work at Squaresoft?
That was back in 1990. When I graduated, that was my first job. 1996, wow. I graduated. That's when Parasite Eve was coming out, and also Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 7 just came out.
Nice.
Well, so Final Fantasy 7 is like the weirdest.
David was trying to show this.
Yeah.
Thing.
Can you have sound? Can you do sound on your computer on that?
I'll aim it. Is this a open source? This video?
You're welcome to play this. I know the creator.
Copying is not theft. Stealing a thing leaves one less left. Copying, it makes one thing more. That's what copying's for. Copying is not theft. If I copy yours, you have it too. One for me and one for you. That's what copies can do. If I steal your bicycle, you have to take the bus. But if I just copy it, there's one for each of us. Make it more of a thing. That is what we call copying. Sharing ideas with everyone. That's why copying is fun.
I've considered keeping that video as like my header for the SyncBook, my portion of the SyncBook website, because it's just like, dude, that's so simple, and it really does say it all.
It's
really
pretty adorable.
It's called communism.
I feel like but I also feel that that's such a flawed argument too, because it doesn't work outside of like the headline version of it. Because
she made a film. She made a few films. One of them is Sita Sings the Blues, and that's kind of what made Nina Paley famous. And then she went on from there to do sadomasochism. And sadomasochism uses all kinds of music from different people that's applicable to what she's displaying with animation. And so that was kind of her argument, because she met with some opposition with doing that. And now
that sounds transformative, right? That sounds very transformative.
Well, it is, but it's the real music. So that's part of the thing. And like music was the hard one to get away with, because the music companies will see you harder than the film companies, apparently.
So somebody just wrote, I thought Eddie was in his early 30s. Oh my god.
Yeah. We froze him for
right now.
What's the Asian version of Black Don't Crack? Is there one? Have you ever
I'm
heard
not
one or
gonna
no?
say it, but I thought
Oh,
of
you
it
know,
just now.
there is one.
is
I'm not-
Okay. Can you private chat it just so
We'll
I
do
can
it
laugh?
later. Ubuntu philosophy comes up. I actually wanted to post this meme earlier. I'll go back to x.com and click on my face. I posted this picture because I was thinking about. I met some German students when I was in Montenegro that were socialists. They're like, we're kind of left leaning, yeah, and all this stuff. And I was like, but they don't really know much about practicality of socialism because all they understand is, they don't know even the history of 20th century or 19th century Europe. They only kind of know some theoretical books, or maybe they've read some kind of commentary on Marx. So they're reading commentary on a philosopher student's theory, right? But not on actual practical use of it. And then you've got examples of people like living in Africa who practice Ubuntu. And even today, when people think of Ubuntu, they're probably thinking of like software because if they think of it at all, because there's a software brand, that Linux is Ubuntu, but it's more this kind of philosophy that I am because you are, we're inextricably tied to each other. The world, we all drink from the same water, that kind of a philosophy. It's a practical philosophy rather than a theory, right? The philosophy is more about living in the world together and what consequences have come from that. Instead of, I think we should start doing things this way, right? It's not just abstract. That's, I think, what's missing from the idea of what's Marxist or what's communist. We're throwing a red herring in there by even using Marx's name.
Dude, did I talk about the parent? It's been a while since we had a show, so I was thinking about the parent trap. Because there's this idea that they're like Trumbo, like there was all these people who would encode communist ideas into big films. So this is Disney, and it struck me.
Changed.
What was the hit song in the Parent Trap? It was "Let's Get Together." Although we haven't got a lot, we could be sharing all we got together. And it just struck me that I was like, the Parent Trap is just loaded with subliminal communist stuff. Like it's pretty funny.
This is before the FBI, the Red Scare.
Let's get together. Why don't you and I combine? Yeah, it's true. And it's 1961. It's perfect timing for that.
Right? Yeah.
The music would be, and while they're having was it Khrushchev who's visiting?
Chairman Khrushchev?
Brezhnev, Disneyland. I'm sorry.
Well, which years are
Khrushchev? Khrushchev wanted to go to Disneyland and they wouldn't let him go because of fear that he would be assassinated. They thought they couldn't have enough security at Disneyland to keep him safe, which is like, I don't know. Like, I feel like they could have. And so Disney was really saying, come on, this is something.
It was the eyebrows. He's like, bro, those eyebrows are too big for the park.
But this also led Khrushchev to build like Pioneer Park, He built like his own Disneyland, essentially, and partially why the Soviet Union had their own.
I'm thinking of JFK going, I call upon Chairman Khrushchev to halt and eliminate this clandestine, reckless, and provocative threat to world peace, that no one doubt that this is a difficult and dangerous effort on which we have set out. No one can foresee precisely the course or what cost or casualties will be incurred. The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it. And one path we shall never choose, and that is a path of surrender or submission. And I always thought that was so fucking eerie somehow. Like that whole speech, it's like at any cost, but it's good, it's brave, but at the same time, it's just like kind of menacing. I don't know.
Well, they were worried about
Khrushchev died.
Khrushchev wanted to say, hey, we should copy you. We should build American style culture. We'll have Soviet cars, Soviet radios.
Everybody's copying
Soviet
us.
Disneyland.
Hitler's copying us.
And America was like, no. I mean, Atlanticists were like, no. What we've built here is this trade empire. See, what we've done is we took colonial power over these lands and we forced the agriculture in Mississippi to make cotton, which is refined in Britain, right? And the fact that it actually was illegal at first to bring machines to refine cotton, or blacksmiths were prohibited when they first were building the Western colonies. Only the Dutch and the French started to allow people to actually refine things. And even then, they wish they hadn't, right? Because the whole point was a cappuccino economy, an economy where everyone was forced to take milk from one land, coffee bean from another land, ceramics from China, mix them all together and have islands where people are drinking these drinks, right? So the cappuccino economy was not something the Soviet Union was trying to be a part of at the time, and they were really hoping they could be autonomous and have a multipolarity.
So that was I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Were they? What was Russia trying to do with Cuba? So it's trying to set up missile base, like military bases, and now it's too close to Florida.
I think it's not fair.
Is that not what it is? Because it seems like that's at least what they were saying. I mean,
they were helping to industrialize Cuba. Cuba had
there's all that, but I'm just saying, like, as far as like the threat went, was that Russia was gonna set up something in Cuba? Am I wrong? Because it was like we set up along Russia now. Like, I'm just like trying to figure out.
Yeah, if the Soviets had nukes or large enough weapons to blast the coast, the East Coast from Cuba, it would terrify. It would basically make it impossible for us to threaten Russia, right? And we already have weapons that are close enough to Russia, and now we have even more weapons closer.
Bring the enemies closer, yeah.
Right. I mean, but they were saying at the time, okay, this is also before we had a lot of automation. So what's his name? Valentin, Soviet, submarine, nuclear. Just get the guys right.
You know that China now is doing the same thing Soviet Union were doing, right? They're establishing a military base now there.
So this guy the world almost ended like a dozen times over, at least. Who knows how many times the world almost ended. But if you have after World War II, people just say, keep the ships running, and they don't tell them to stop. And they have them awake for 36 hours at a time at least, or 48 hours, but 36-hour shifts. And then they'd have someone else get up in a plane and meet them and get into the plane, and then get them out of the plane. Well, they're fueling the plane, or they're in a submarine for days at a time with just red light, and they're just eating amphetamines or cathinone if they're Soviets, right? Which is just an oxygen molecule away. Eventually, you have this really crazy military population of people that are underslept, overworked, and psychotic. A lot of them become psychotic. And so there were situations where they lost communication, comm lines were broken, and the protocols even would say, okay, well, if your comm lines are broken, you're supposed to launch your nuke. So this guy, Valentin, what's his name? Vasily Arkhipov, he decided to stop and to break protocol and not to launch nukes while they were off north of Cuba. In 1962, right? So there were several circumstances that could have been major environmental devastation if nukes are all they're cracked up to be, and especially hydrogen bombs, in the ocean, like burning up. Was
he executed?
Water.
This guy?
No, I think what happened with this guy? I think because eventually it was a few hours later they got contact again and everything was fine. So I think they were glad that he did it. But they didn't tell people about it for decades or something like that.
Well, he definitely broke the ranks, and
yeah. But there's tons of examples of situations like that where people just did not act, and eventually they said, okay, well, let's just build systems that will have human error removed from the system. And by the late 60s, most of the systems are run by machine. So we've been living when we talk about like AI, the Colossus Forbin project kind of talks about
Great
this.
movie.
Yeah, and also war games, of course. These systems have been in effect for. I mean, anytime you see a movie about something, it's been going on for 20 years.
Hey, is war games related to Project X?
I'd like to think so, but what's the monkey? Is the monkey us? I mean...
Right. There's a weird thing there. All the monkey sounds in Project X are actually human sounds, I hear.
Yeah, I don't trust that movie, but Project Chimp.
It's based on a true story, right? These apes doing these kind of like flight simulations for like the idea that they could potentially use monkeys for war. Just like
the Russians put a monkey in space before the US, and we were like, oh, we're going to get you guys back on that one.
And a dog. Well, the thing is that the chimps can do what's like the pattern test. Chimp pattern.
Well, there was the monkeys they shot into space, Abel and Baker, which was the same name as the first hydrogen bombs. exploded.
If you take a chimpanzee and you put it in front of a computer and you just blast dots in front of its face, it can click on the dots faster and better because it can remember where like 36 dots are, and it can click them in order. So if these dots just come on the screen, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It can remember when they disappear where they were and click them again in order, like forward or backward.
You guys,
and they can smoke a cigar while they're doing it.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of a Dr. Bill Deagle? He's like one of this conspiracy.
No.
Bill like Desert Eagle Deagle.
The fraud of Bill Deagle.
Deagle.
Yeah.
As soon as you see something like that,
so there you go.
James Corbett.
I'm just telling you, 40 years ago, he said that the U.S. military is developing an army of chimp killers.
Oh, I remember this guy. Yeah.
He's the one who's saying that the baboons and ape militarized apes.
We got to bring up humanzees now because that's the OG of militarizing.
Soviet humanzees, yeah.
Yeah, Ivan Ivanovich or something like that.
So Ivan Ivanovich, Soviet scientist who was trying to breed human and chimpanzee hybrids, and maybe succeeded. We're not allowed to know. That's the worst part.
It was. We literally can make babies with apes, which is really scary.
See, it wasn't the first time that
was only once.
Saint Peter Damian in the 11th century claimed it talks about the offspring of a human woman who had mated with an ape, and so did Antonio Zucchelli, an Italian Franciscan Capuchin friar who was a missionary in Africa from 1698 to 1702. Sir Edward Coke and the Institutes of Laws of England. So what I think is they probably were talking more about like the Harry Mary, and they saw some furry-faced people, but you never know. So chimpanzees and humans closely related, but they never bred blah 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 until the Soviet Union was like, we can make anything. Also, the wolfen.
Neanderthals.
Who doesn't love the wolfen?
The wolfen.
The wolfen's my spirit animal some days of the week. I like the wolfen. You've got like a 66 tooth, 88 tooth, and you got like a 77 tooth or something weird like that. It's like right in the middle. Freaking weird, man.
And just to ask the obvious, is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, it's like whale dolphin.
I love that.
The wolfen's great. The wolfen's a spirit. It's a spirit, first of all. Have you read Uplift or any of the like from David Brin, the guy who wrote the Postman?
No.
So David Brin, I did an interview with him at some point because like this is just a crazy book. After I was looking into the Postman, I was like, what's up with Uplift? Because Uplift is about a world. It's about many worlds. It says, okay, so first off, Brin is the kind of guy who the CIA or the government in general will get in a room and they'll ask him about something before it happens, and he'll come up with a fantasy situation, right? And then they'll build a epidemic report and they'll stop the thing from happening. So maybe a virus, they'll make a movie in the 80s about a virus outbreak, and that will be a way to stop people from having that virus outbreak because people will know what to expect. Maybe an asteroid movie will come out, and that will be in order to help predict the kind of response that we will need. And also say if we didn't do things a certain way in a sci-fi movie. This is
predictive programming.
This is problematic though, like what we see with Tom Clancy, right? Because it's like Tom Clancy has the problem is that you got all these military officials reading some of these authors, and they'll read everything like this. The Tom Clancy has been hugely influential to the military and intelligence agencies, and it's because they have these jobs and they almost like entertain it like they're a character in this thing, like it makes it exciting or makes it whatever. But the point is even beyond that, it's just like there's a paradigm that Tom Clancy came up with, and they relate to what they're doing like through the lens of that paradigm. And there's been particular. I found an essay on this along.
That's a serious issue. Also, Stefan says for $4.99, thank you, Stefan. Andy and Eddie, how much would it cost? How long would it take to AI generate 100 episodes of Rick and Morty and release them all as Season 7, Episode 1?
It costs nothing.
Yeah, nothing. If you have the equipment, it just would take. I could do it in real time, but if I had like $250,000 of graphics cards, I could just start nonstop like releasing AI generated content. That was 24 to 60 frames a second. Which is
did I show you guys the SpongeBob AI on YouTube? It's taken down.
Right.
Nickelodeon took it down.
You can do stuff like that so much easier.
For days.
If you just use a Unity engine and you have a 3D model system, and it's not like just like AI drawn, then probably for more like $10,000 you can build a system that would be 24 hours a day. Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on what you want. Like, do you want it? I think when Stefan's talking, he's talking about at least something on the quality of Rick and Morty. But if you're talking about just what they exist, because right now, yeah, like let's look at the SpongeBob AI generated. It's pretty much good enough.
Well, I mean,
the
the channel is gone, but
kids watch this is the thing. I've
it's
seen
hilarious. It actually is watchable, totally watchable.
Yeah, kids are watching the show, so you don't
makes
need
no sense
things to
whatsoever.
be nearly as good as you think you need them to be. You actually could do this probably from home on your own system for free right now. If you're creative enough, you always could. You didn't need AI ever. That's kind of the joke about all this. It's not really important. But I wanted to say with David Brin, because what he built was this series called Uplift, and Uplift is about in space. There's all of these different kinds of
No one can hear you scream.
Yes, that's true. There's civilizations that build other civilizations, and part of the deal is, okay, we come across this squid race and we give them technology, and then they owe us for 100,000 years or something like that. They have to be our like subservient race, and this is how it works. Space creatures uplift each other, but they come to Earth, and Earth doesn't have an uplifted origin story. Like, well, who uplifted you? And we don't know. Like, well, that's crazy. And we're not that great, obviously. Like, other things are able to go all far in space, but we're pretty interesting. I mean, we have this kind of math that we do and all these things that doesn't make sense because we're not using base 12, but it's still interesting, like decimal math and all this weird stuff that we can do. So the question is, who can take over Earth and uplift us? We're pretty close to uplifted already. I mean, someone can come across and do it, but we're not interested in being uplifted. And then it's found out that humans have already started uplifting. And that's the main thing. If you already have a species you've uplifted, no other species can uplift you, basically. So we've got dolphins that are working for the military. We have chimps in space. They find a dog reptiles in space. And they're like, wait a second. Okay, so there's something about humanity. It's where's our, maybe something uplifted us and just abandoned us or something like that. And so that's the question that kind of forms.
Well, I just watched the whole Alien series. And, you know, Prometheus kind of, all at the same time.
Have you ever seen the deleted scene of Prometheus?
So
at the very beginning of Prometheus, the guy's by himself, but in the deleted scene, he's there with the elders, and the elders break down the entire symbolism of the movie. It blows my mind that this scene, it changes the entire movie if you've seen this deleted scene first and then you watch it.
Wow,
like it like almost inverts the logic of the movie.
Huh. Well, yeah, I mean,
what's it leave it saying?
Meet your creator, and your creator is just this insane evil psychopath. Yeah.
If you look at Prometheus, the mythology, I mean, it's not really about the fire.
It was junk. I agree.
Fire. You know, it really is
about
like
knowledge.
The spark, the spark of knowledge, the spark of genetics from the creator. You know, we trying to taint us chimps with the lace us with the.
Yeah, I was trying to find a bunch of examples of like practical use of AI. So someone just took the regular movie and now they did outpainting on every single frame.
I guess the ultimate, like, you know, when you watch Alien for the first time, for me anyway, I'm like, the thing you want to know is where the fuck did these things come from? And now when you watch Alien Covenant, or you get to the end of it all, it's basically that this AI, an AI genetically engineered them, that we created.
Well, actually, you know what? Here, if I want to go to exopolitics, right? You know how they talk about the gray aliens, right? So they say, oh, the gray aliens are the watchers. They've been watching us. They're invisible. They can walk through walls. But they didn't create us. They're the watchers, right? If you look at the alien, you know, in the Ash, right? Ash is an AI officer, right? He's a robotic. He's monitoring the humans. What are you doing? Okay, you're gonna fly to other planets to look for the extraterrestrial lives, but we're gonna monitor you once you discover a new life form. It's under our jurisdiction now. The artificial, you know, we're in the Prometheus movie, whatever that blonde played by who I forgot his name. Yeah, the artificial intelligence are there to monitor us, but they're not the creators. They're the ones who are trying to.
My understanding from that Prometheus deleted scene was that the original black goo was actually part of like God. It was like a godly substance, and that was the real one. But then they had somehow like lost all of it or used it up or lost control of it, and then they try to make their own like artificial goo, and that artificial goo is what became their whole downfall, and then they started to turn it into like a biological weapon or something. But that kind of represents the AI, I guess, when you look at it through those lenses, that we took this like organic divine substance, and then at some point humanity is going to try and make the artificial version of that divine substance, and then by using the artificial version and using that to try and create life, we're just going to create monsters nonstop. And then, you know, you have to tie into like the Geiger and the Aleister Crowley connection there too between all of this.
Well, the original subtext for the first Alien film is largely is like, so I came up with my understanding of Alien before I found out that other people take it the same way. I think it's all about pregnancy. I think that the ship
Right.
is literally like the mother. It says mother, like she like they in a sense impregnated the ship. I think that it's like a psychoanalytical like introspection from a mother
it's
on
an
what like,
antinatalist propaganda
that
film,
she's been
right?
invaded. Like I don't think it's a
all
mistake.
it's all about anti-man. It's all about sexist violence. It's all about rape. It's all about the idea that this isn't your baby. This is a monster inside of you. This is an antinatalist movie at the peak moment that the birth control pills are starting to be pushed onto the scene.
It's both at once. It's also it's very much a feminist movie, but it's also, here's the thing, is that like H.R. Giger got a fucking Oscar for this movie, right? I think that he put more into it than people realize. Like he had level 4 birth trauma. Like if you know the things about him and his own psychoanalytical process that he speaks to, and then you look at his airbrush paintings, they make a lot more sense. But like there's a whole like philosophy that's built into this. Like I don't think it's a mistake when they abort the mission, that when the alien gets kicked out of the ship, it's literally like when it screams, it sounds like a baby. Like it's so like, and then I also don't think it's a mistake that the head of the alien is a giant dick. It's like that's what it is.
Also,
like that's her like
Also the
subconscious perception of like what's happening inside of her, like as though she's been invaded. Yeah.
And don't forget
You know,
the 237 above her womb at the end.
Oh yeah, so they
But
say
then it starts with it 200. It's bookended by 237.
Right. So you know, the guy who was doing a lot of the set design for this movie, he was all about Manly P. Hall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, and Helena Blavatsky. And you can watch. There's a documentary where they talk about like where he talks about how they encoded that. Specifically the secret doctrine into it. Yeah, it's crazy.
I can link this all together. Okay, so we talked about room 237. Okay, I also talked about the arch, you know, the bathtub, the arch green bathtub. That's actually the goddess Newt. You know, the Egyptian goddess Newt, and you know Newt in Aliens, right? The little girl Newt,
who they brutally kill in the third one.
Yeah. So she's actually the night goddess. She's actually the one. So Geiger actually drew this. Look it up. It's called the life cycle of hieroglyphics of Geiger.
Right.
Is there a relation between Heather O'Rourke and Newt, because they're very similar, like you know, young blonde girls?
No, but there's Drew Barrymore. They were best friends.
No. Go back. You got the picture. Go back to the last one. You see right there on top. Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
so this is Geiger's artwork, right? So this is based on the Egyptian stele of revealing. You know, the stele of revealing. Aleister Crowley used it. It's basically the tracing board for Aleister Crowley. So this is basically the birth cycle. You know, if you look at the mother night, that's Newt.
I kind of take a Gnostic look as the aliens as sort of archonic figures and just utterly negative entities.
Well, that's the thing, is that there's supposed to be this like next level evolution, right? But all there are killing machines or that fucking bleed acid. So it's like, and the way that they treat it, especially like Ash, there's like this whole like worshiping of the alien
too.
thing.
It's insectoid. It could be interpreted as like matriarchal or communist or whatever.
Yeah, like you notice the thing with the winged disc that they have in the mother room and elsewhere, like they have, that's like their symbol. I think it's even even on their clothes or whatever. It's very Egyptian. So like Eddie's right in that capacity. There's like a whole
it also came out 42
Captain
weeks
says
before
that
The
a Rick and
Shining.
Morty Don Quixote.
It's a birth. It's a
10-minute
birth. The
releasing
legend of the
episodes.
birth. You know. So if you can go to the
Well, just
steel,
really quickly, I wanted to show this because Thomas said this because he's bouncing to what you were saying about Blavatsky's alien references.
This was blowing my mind. Yeah, man, I couldn't So I guess on the little keyboard they have direct references to like
this is what I'm talking about.
Symbols.
Dang,
Totally.
I never
Like
saw
this isn't reading into it. This is blatantly there.
No, this is just what it is. Yeah, totally.
Padme. That's great. Padme. Yeah. Okay, wait. Sorry, Eddie. What were you saying? Go back to the.
I think I better just upload
this one
real quick what I posted a long time ago.
I wanted to say too, there's a connection here with the Moonchild and the Babylon Rising ceremony, which was also based on Crowley, and that was that if you took a pregnant woman within the first, I think, trimester, that it doesn't have a soul yet, so that you can invoke a different soul into that fetus, and now it becomes something more than, aka the Moonchild.
Right.
Andreas, can I upload?
Or the demon seed.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, the Moonchild, exactly. The Babylon working and all that. Yeah. So look up. Yeah, I just dropped a message.
There. This one.
Oh no, not this one.
Hold on. I'll go back.
So yeah, even with Babylon working, producing the Moonchild, that's all in one. It's all the same ceremony.
Well, and if you have an alien busting out of you in space and it's about pregnancy, I mean, that feels like a Moonchild aspect. And in Prometheus, at the end, only females survive.
You're Sharon Tate. You're going to bust you open.
Just probably resend
It's not a funny joke, Eddie.
I'm not seeing it there.
Oh, wait a second.
There's definitely a good Sharon Tate alien joke somewhere out there.
There is. I'm not sure if that was it, but we might be approaching something. I don't know.
Kissinger just visited China. That's fun, right?
So I've always heard his accent was fake, and he just loved the German accent so much he taught himself to speak in it. Have anyone else heard that before?
He's a total anomaly, dude. There's some quotes from him that are just like kind of like verging on horrific. I mean, but I don't know, dude. It's weird.
He's 100 years old.
He's a survivor, but he just goes to show that you can't, like, there's no, like, you can't just have a survivor and say their opinion is the opinion of survivors. You know what I mean? Because they seem to not always align. And I think he's definitely an example of not aligning with that.
This is looking desperate. Look at it, Paul Hansen, what's his name in the back? The U.S. Treasury. This is a death story here.
How old is he now?
100.
He's 100 years old. He just turned 100 this year. So he just
don't retire if you don't want to. I feel you on that one.
Is his next bodysuit just not ready yet? Like, what's the holdup?
Yeah, he's not OT8. That's the issue.
Hey, can I just point out something that Bill pointed out to me? It's that you guys are probably all over this, and it's obvious. But I was just like, okay, so Twitter Files is now the X Files. You guys got that right?
Yeah,
I'm just saying. Okay, and so so I pointed out to you guys and Bill in the past that there's like this whole issue with the railist movement, and that symbol that Kanye shared online he shared a picture of Elon in his shorts, like swim, like whatever, like, and then he had a picture of the Star of David with the swastika. And I never once on the news say anyone mentioned what the symbol meant. So it just was pitched as just a purely like bigoted or racist thing to have the swastika with the star like that. But that is a symbol for realism. And Elon Musk is an honorary member, and I've said this before, but you guys, you can look up like commentary from the head of that cult, the UFO cult, speaking to Elon Musk's assistants and their ambitions, which includes making having African birthright in the future. So they're setting up these like things in Africa for reversal of female circumcision, which I'm not sure is possible, but apparently that's what they're doing. I need to read more on the particulars of how that works. But West Africa, they're setting up these places, and it looks as though, like, if you know Elon Musk's connection to Africa, he says over and over again, "I'm an alien trying to get home." In meetings, like, you can find articles on that. It's fucking weird, but I think he means it like literally. Like, this is like, yeah, he's tied in a really weird way. The
He
whole
seems like he's just really obsessed with 1930s sci-fi.
The
Like,
thing you got to remember about Elon Musk is that he was born the same day. What?
my Siri just acted up.
Oh, Elon Musk was born the day Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was released or premiered. So I just always think of him as basically that guy.
He's a kid in the TV. He actually got trapped in the TV.
He's kid. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
He's in it, and you can I've associated him with through anagram. I tried to anagram his name, and one of the things you can get mole out of it. So thinking of mole, and then it's actually NUSK mole, and anyway. But then
Tree of Life, the Musk from the Tree of Life.
Well, but then I realized, but he's the boring company. He literally digs holes, which is what a mole does. Is like, what? So I kind of see him
sandworm.
Alejandro Jodorowsky, when he came out with the mole El Topo, I always kind of wondered about that. Like, if he's talking about himself. Like, is he the mole? You know what I mean? Like, not just like in the allegorical story about the mole who gets blinded. But the story is that the mole gets blinded because it sees the sun. It digs its way to the surface, and then it sees the sun, and then it loses its eyesight. It's an allegory. But at the same time, I'm like, is there like a weird CIA thing going on there?
Like mole, I just went on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and the mole has to keep Ratty, and the mole have to keep Mr. Toad from selling or mortgaging his Toad Hall for a dog food factory, so that they can buy 9 race cars.
Can I mention this thing? I think it's probably has something to do with it. We're talking about digging holes, boring company, Elon Musk, right? Because I'm still on this long sync of Beetlejuice, right? Beetlejuice is Beetlejuice, is the star that's about to explode, right? And we know the movie is tied with the sandworm, like in Dune, right? It's the same
Saturn
entity.
worm.
Very Geiger.
Yeah, it came from
Dune
Saturn.
is Geiger's whole thing, yeah.
You go
Giger contributed to Dune.
Or he was going to make Jodorowsky's art project. He did all the art for the Jodorowsky version that didn't get made, right?
No, that was Mobius actually, and what H.R. Giger produced actually ended up in Dune.
Oh,
partially.
You mean the Dorowski? Oh, I keep forgetting his name.
Jodorowsky's Dune is a really great movie, and everyone should watch it. But yeah, that was actually Mobius. Was there a consideration for Giger first? I don't think so.
No, Giger was definitely involved. It says here, see in the background.
Oh, he was involved.
Yeah.
What did he do? Because the artwork was all done by Mobius.
There was a huge collective of artists. Actually.
If you type in Giger, you can see all kinds of stuff that he was working on for Dune.
Right, but this wasn't done. I thought that this was done directly for David Lynch. Am I mistaken?
No, he did it first for Jodorowsky.
Oh, that's interesting because Mobius did the entire book that they put together that they gave to all the executives to try and get it made, but it got turned down by everybody.
Yeah, I think that they were down with the project. They just didn't like Jodorowsky, and probably because he slept with somebody. But
is Mobius the name of an artist or a studio?
You don't know Mobius, man? You're the one doing comic books and shit, dude. Look up Well, he was a contributor to Heavy Metal magazine, and he's probably of the people that contributed to Heavy Metal. I think he's the most famous.
Let's just say Mobius, his Long Tomorrow comic strip, which he did with aliens, a writer named Dan O'Bannon. Dan O'Bannon and Mobius created the Long Tomorrow, which is the basis of Blade Runner.
Totally. Yeah. And so Thomas, so have you ever seen the movie based on a graphic novel called Blueberry or Renegade? And there's this insane visual sequence of ayahuasca where he basically it's supposed to be peyote, like they show it that way, but it's like an ayahuasca trip, and it's got giant fucking centipedes and snakes, and it's all totally crazy. It's the most psychedelic artful scene I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Wait, it's called Blueberry or Renegade?
Yeah. And that whole sequence was done by Mobius. And I tripped out on that sequence for the longest time without even realizing it was him, because I associate Mobius with this shit from back in the day. But Mobius fucking delivers with that special effects sequence. It's pretty incredible.
Can you go to Long Tomorrow, Mobius? And you look at Long Tomorrow, it's completely inspired Blade Runner. We know it's Philip K. Dick's vision, but everything. Daniel Bannon was trying to pitch this, and Daniel Bannon, he's the writer of Alien and Dark Star also with Carpenter, and so. Actually, Daniel Bennett has my birthday, but if you look at it, everything's visualized, and somehow I don't know. It's hard not to say that really Scott did not rip off.
It's also like 1930s sci-fi is all this style. Saying like things are gonna be hyper overbuilt, vertical, not just horizontal. Cities will be up and down in every direction. I mean, this was part of like the hyper urbanism dream in the 30s. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can see this in Metropolis, dude.
Yeah, everything Elon Musk is talking about is like 100 years old. It's like the future now because it's supposed to exist, but it's being rushed. Is what it feels like.
It reminds me of and I'm not sure if I'm familiar with Mobius's artwork as much as I should be. It reminds me a lot of like a non-erotic version of I think his name is Milo Manara, something like that.
Oh no, Milo Manara is more like erotic,
right, but it has that a very similar aesthetic, at least.
Right, but this can get erotic too. You ever seen Heavy Metal, the movie?
Comics,
I mean, of course, yeah.
Right, so there you go. That's all inspired by him in this.
Kandahar is definitely inspired by Jean Girard as well.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like if you watch like the Yellow Submarine movie. And it's like it's totally Peter Max style, but Peter Max actually had no part of it, and the Beatles didn't have any part of it either.
I wanted to show this earlier. The podcast wasn't going on when the Ocean Gate thing happened because that was just a really I'm always going to say a fun time.
We can go into Ocean Gate still if you want to. I mean, I think it's like it's Human Centipede 3 to me, right? There's just how can we push people that close together?
Well, did you see the Shamir meme? That's my favorite one that came out of this. That the Titan capsule looks very close to a Shamir.
That's true.
Right,
that was good.
That. Yeah,
well, I wanted to really because I just want to really quickly make sure I cover two things. One is the Disney AI software that they first had for Amiga back when I was a kid, and this was amazing because look at that. There you go. Now
can I tell you something? Yeah. Really quick. My school at Cal Arts is funded by Disney, right?
Yeah, of
so
course.
they facilitated all these Amigas, pencil test machines. I was personally the TA. I'm the teacher.
You're so lucky. God, you're so blessed sometimes, man. Well,
it's
so
funny though.
You can see this is an animation done, and so the idea with this is we'll be able to trace animations and load them onto tapes, and when we need to, we'll call upon that animation and we'll digitally move it on a magnetic tape from the original tape, and we'll have those original animations to be able to call upon. So, for instance, if we make Hercules, we can use Aladdin's face, right? That was a big thing, right? The recycled Disney Hercules Aladdin. That was a thing, right? So we can find that. They would recycle the faces or certain animation sequences. I think a big one is
Baloo's a big one too.
Baloo, big, and then the Robin Hood cartoon recycled.
Yeah, Robin Hood and Jungle Book. Yeah,
you know that
voice too.
You know that in Aladdin, like every single character and practically the whole freaking movie is taken from a movie called The Thief of Baghdad from I think the 1940s. Which it's uncanny. I mean, you can see it. It's certain things, especially.
If you go back to that, right? It's safe to say that's the very first AI, right? They copied the style of another to save money. It's we're just gonna emulate all the dance of Snow White.
That's the beautiful thing about this software, right? Is that very soon they knew that they were going to be able to have all the ancient arts stored, be able to reuse them when they needed to reuse them. People could then fill them in better, change them slightly, but they'd have the original animation stored, right? So they could be used forever by a computer, and that's nothing new. That's something that they've been planning to do since the beginning, and kind of what training animators was like showing them how to copy these old things and learn how the old animators did the page turns, right?
Hey, isn't it kind of ironic that they're so uptight about copyright and yet they're the ones like trying to argue for themselves that copying isn't theft?
I think the future is coming and they know it. Like Steamboat Willie is free now, right? Like this.
I mean, I can make a safe prediction here. I've got my Nostradamus moment. Maybe everyone else sees this coming, but like you were saying before, Andreas, if someone gave you $250,000, maybe you could put together something that would do this. Well, the next step in this evolution is that you're going to need a license. Even if you had the money, you're going to have to like license each of those graphics cards directly from somewhere, and your name's going to go on a list. It's going to be seen as almost a weapon because of how powerful having a system like that could be for a private individual.
Right. That's definitely coming. I mean, I see that as the next step is if graphics cards are going to be AI cards and AI cards are going to be important to war, then they're going to be hard to get.
They're going to be doing busts, and it's going to be like, we found 400 GPUs in their closet. You know what I mean? Spread them out on a table with like a bunch of dogs and guys with like guns.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody says we are all starting to where'd it go? Shit. Do a remake of THX 1138. I just want to say that like THX 1138 was said by Lucas to not be a movie about the future, but a movie from the future. And I get that. And then that relates to Star Wars, which you asked earlier, Andreas, for us to remind you of something you wanted to go into about Star Wars. Maybe this is the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but because I'm really close to the meat thing. Let's just do the meat thing first. So the lab-grown meat, that's happened, and we were predicting that they were going to start saying with lab-grown meat that human-grown meat could be a thing, and that's starting to happen now. Where did I see the article? They're saying, hey, human cells, technically not a cannibal if you eat it. Company growing lab-grown human.
It's like an onion. Like...
If you had to choose between cloned human lab meat or bugs.
The Ouroboros.
Is this the bro Bible, dude?
Bro Bible.
Bugs, definitely.
There's a couple. There's a Rumble video talking about the lab-grown company as well. I was trying to find the name of the company. Stakeholder Foods, that's the one. Stakeholder Foods, and they're growing human meat as well because there's no reason not to, right? And so we said this could happen, and now I'm seeing it. So what do you think? I like Thomas's question.
What year does Soil and Green take place?
2020.
That was last year.
All
That was
about
last year.
cannibalism.
2022.
I like the analogy even better of this is just a modern version of alchemical homunculi. Like what if you described what the goal was for this to Paracelsus, he'd be like, oh crap, like let me see that. That's basically what he was trying to do with, semen and cow dung.
Yeah, right at that point. Pretty much.
Yeah, you have to hermetically seal it.
Spirit cooking here.
Yeah, you have to bury it underground for like 40 days or something. But like all of those things represent different elements, like the. So yeah, I want to get to. I don't want to leave.
I have that Kubrick quote about that somewhere. I thought maybe it was right, but no, I got.
Kubrick talking about Paracelsus.
Kubrick talking about somebody was writing and they were drawing a connection between the homunculus and AI, and Kubrick responded in his handwriting with he was saying there's a distinction between what we're talking about here, and then he went on to describe the actual steps involved of producing a homunculus with what you just said. So he's like talking about the hermetically sealed vessel and all of that. So it's like he revealed that
Paracelsus published his ingredients and his recipe for anyone that had the eyes to read it.
Right. So Kubrick also what's the syntax experientially for me tripped me out with this. So this is in the Kubrick archives in the treatments of AI, where he basically was, he's reacting to somebody, first of all, saying he didn't want a family film. I just talked to you about this on the podcast, so it'll be released later. But it was like he talks about Emet and with truth and death, and that basically like you have Amet means truth, and if you remove the aleph it means met, and so you'd write that on the forehead of the homunculus. And so it's just like me and Patrick Svek in an old Always Record discussed that idea in regards to HAL in 2001 A Space Odyssey, and then I find in the archives him referencing that exact Kabbalistic thing. So yeah, MetLife, somebody says that's why, because it's death life insurance.
I read this. I got this Philip K. Dick quote that applies to Paracelsus and Kubrick, so I'm just going to read it real quick.
Oh hell yeah.
Like an alchemical transmutation, Zebra is turning the irreal into the real. The totality of reality, micro and macrocosms seen in alchemical terms, in alchemical process from lower base to higher noble. Hence the info about Mercury. If a human mind was involved, it was/is one of the greatest minds in human history. Were I to pick one, I'd pick Paracelsus. But this is only a guess. My homoplasmate theory posits an accretional mind. like a vast spiritual dung ball rolling up the inclined plane of human history, acquiring person after person, starting with, for example, Zoroaster and Siddhartha, a gathering, growing, refining, and refined suprapersonal human nous linked through Christ with the macro mind. Yes, this is it.
Wow.
I feel like
Kubrick, I mean, like
yeah.
the way it seems that this person is many people, to me.
We're a legion, right?
I think Ezra read that quote at one of the Olympia Sync Summits, actually.
Well, I want to get at that's actually a good subject to get into, but hold on really quickly. The thing I think we're missing about cannibalism is unicorn meat. So the thing is, of course, yeah, they can clone anything. They can clone human, but maybe what we need to do is look at how they can make something that can't really be alive that tastes so good it can't even be alive, and then that's the future transhumanist meat. Right. It'll have
right. Well, the big problem with cannibalism, other than the obvious things, is kuru, which is that weird disease you get where you end up getting like this pussy thing in the center of your tongue.
But it's only if you eat brain. If you don't eat brain, then you're in the clear.
Is that true? I don't think that's true. Is that true?
Because kuru is kind of like mad cow disease, in that it's like a protein that transfers from brain to brain. But yeah, if you just eat like some nice thigh meat, then you're good, bro.
Nice.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Here's this up because you guys are just changing the subject, but I want to connect it with
very slow.
Keep going. I want to connect it with cannibalism because you were, like David, you were talking about med and emet, right? The truth, right? And you talk about zebra from Phallus, right? So this is all binary language.
Believe it or not, this is like literally the next content that I wanted to pull up. It all works out so well.
So you know, binary programming, you know, the zeros and ones, right? It's to look for the truth. The 0101 is this true, right? It is about on-off switch, right? So now we're talking about getting to the bottom of the truth, which is binary language, and then you go to, then I can jump to cannibalism. Why it doesn't work because then I go to the aliens too. Why they say the great aliens try to abduct humans because they are carbon copies. They just degenerative. You know, you're eating you're consuming your own. You're starting to become degrading copies and copies. Like that. Now we talk about the Disney animation. They have to. That's why you see Xerox line all over the Disney, 70s animation. You see Xerox all over the place because it's just degenerative programming, and so you're starting to. I'm trying to how to conclude it is basically like you're losing your truth. You know, you're basically you got to get back to the basics.
I'm trying to get back to the image you posted. You posted, Eddie, about the first correct use of pronouns in Hollywood was Silence of the Lambs. And I'm trying really hard to find it. At least girls have bonus holes, which that'll work.
I pull up for you.
Yeah, if you can find it.
It's kind of a joke, but
it's like it's not. It's true.
You know the symbolism, yeah.
Well, before that, I guess you could say there's like the possession scene with Jesus Christ, where they say the demons say, "I am Legion," and then there's they. We are Legion, right? So that's we are Legion. So there's the use of plurality, and it seems interesting to me because it's been associated with a group that's been treated poorly. So people are defending the acts of possession over the actual group itself. Like the Pride movement is no longer really about protecting people from being murdered or something for being different, which is, I think,
if you're talking about pronouns you have to say when people aren't around. It's how you talk about people when they're not there. Generally, you wouldn't refer as they to somebody when they're in your presence,
Well, discrimination, though, the thing is, like, the idea is of at one point trying to protect someone against discrimination. And today it's about celebrating things that are not really to do with love or any of that. Sorry, Eddie, you sent it?
Oh, no, I just dropped it in the box.
Cool. I love going to x.com to read your X, man. Xing me all the
XXX material.
There it is. Yeah, it rubs the lotion on skin, or else it gets the hose again for somehow we use the correct pronouns and made a release. And like, it's funny, but it seems kind of true because you look at like the Pride celebration, and I'm pretty pro people having pride in themselves, but I also think that the rainbow is the symbol. God said, if you do it again, I'll not just drown you this time, I'll use fire. That's kind of weird.
This is kind of important though. The symbolism of Silence of the Lambs is all over the place. So like the Egyptian symbolism. So it takes place in Memphis, right? Obviously not Egypt, but it's Memphis. And then there's a scene where the sun is behind, they're like walking the steps, and you see the Washington Monument erect behind them, which is representative of Osiris's severed penis. So the guy's like he's tucking his dick in while he has this whole weird thing going on. He's relating himself as Osiris. Even that little moth bug, what they call it in the movie is like I gotta find the particulars around this again, but it's a variation on the thing that they put in the back of the pharaoh's throat, because they find it in the victim's throat. And so it's the whole movie is just like saturated with Egyptian symbolism. But then that's him doing the tuck thing. That's Osiris, like losing his what is it, 14 pieces? And it's the 14th piece is the phallus that she can't find. Yeah.
Is it safe to say the red dragon is the lost phallus of Osiris?
Right. Yeah. And it's Silence of the Lambs, because that was the thing, is that Osiris was the shepherd, right? So, which we were just talking about earlier, by hook or by crook, or at least I was like the flail and the...
that in Con Air, Buscemi, there's a Hannibal connection, because Steve Buscemi plays this character Garland Green, who's like a Hannibal Lecter-esque. He's got the face thing, and he's straight jacket. He's supposed to be this crazy psycho, and he winds up getting involved with this girl, but then he doesn't kill her at the end. But then John Malkovich is in it, and he plays Cyrus, the virus, which is Osiris or whatever, and he eventually gets
right, which is
he gets his head smashed, which is Malkovichian, because it's about his head being fucked with, essentially.
So it's the same thing in Hedwig and the Angry Inch, where his lyric in the Origin of Love is Osiris, and then the other guy changes it, Tommy Gnosis changes it to Cyrus, and he gets all pissed off because he changed his song. But the truth is that it actually has symbolic significance in regard to it, Cyrus instead of Osiris. It was weird.
2 minutes since I watched the movie, but like, isn't it like they're all wrong here, right? Isn't it not that he's all right, he just eats rude people, and this guy, isn't there someone, or this person, isn't there someone else? Isn't there someone at the end of the movie she meets who says, I wasn't beaten or abused, I'm just a crazy person? Am I mixing things up?
I can't remember.
Maybe you're talking about the Julianne Moore one. I don't know.
I thought she's in the house, and she finds the guy in the house, and I could be wrong.
Oh, maybe.
I just want to write down what David was saying with Cyrus, right? I mean, what we know, Donald Trump is being minted on the coin of Israel, right? With the King Cyrus.
What?
Oh, really?
King Cyrus.
Yeah, dude.
Is it like a collector's? That's gotta be like a collector's coin, though, right?
Oh yeah,
like
it's gonna be a Hannibal Lecter's coin.
That's beautiful, beautiful coin, gold.
It's beautiful coin. It's the best coin.
So Cyrus did Cyrus rebuild the second temple? I forgot. No,
What's that? What are you saying?
No, the King Cyrus rebuilt the second temple of Solomon?
No. It's
he prevented
I'd have to look it up again. It's on my blog from years ago.
Doesn't Cyrus like liberate? Yeah, he conquers Babylon, liberates the Jews on Columbus Day, 559 or 530 BC, right? So he has the Cyrus cylinder is the thing. Cyrus cylinder is the record of the first human rights declaration, right? Yeah. He says, I free all of the people, but because I'm freeing the people,
right?
You come to a place and usually you destroy everything. But if everything's kind of nice and you don't destroy it, and you say, you know what, I'm freeing you guys. That's a way of kind of co-opting the government and taking over the government.
Word.
I was thinking about this earlier. Like, there's this really weird story about Genghis Khan where he used to make people drink boiled water, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's a dragon! Like, the guy makes you drink boiled water." This is why people drink tea, because they were like, "Well, what are we gonna do with this boiled water? We have to put something in it to make it not taste horrible." And there's also elixirs. Let's put some good mushrooms and some caffeinated, leaf in it. But
now you're talking.
I mean, like, what did he really say to these people? They're like, "Yeah, he's horrible." He said, "They say he'll kill you if you don't drink boiled water," or did he say that if you don't drink boiled water, you'll die? Because like if you're going upstream towards
right. No, that's the thing. Yeah, or fermented
coming out of the water. You're not boiling the water. You're gonna die probably.
Right, but that was the significance
He's gonna
of
kill you, or is he saying,
yeah.
Look, it's not me. I'm just saying, if you don't drink boiled water, it's not gonna be good. That's what.
Right, but Osiris was the god of wheat, right? Which is when they would the Egyptian royalty would ferment all what they drank, and then the people who were living by the Nile, which is kind of swampy and gnarly, like they would all get sick off the fucking water. They'd get like, I don't know, some version of dysentery or something, you know. But
it's
yeah,
green. he's the green man.
Yeah, it's the green man. So supposedly that's where St. Patrick's Day comes from. Nothing to do with Ireland. It's like the green of Osiris with the wheat, you know, in the beer. You know that it's like a Masonic. I think
copying isn't stealing.
No, you're right. A Secret Son. Christopher Knowles did a blog post on that a long time ago around St. Patrick's Day. It's kind of a gem. Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of thoughts I had, like involving uplift, like birds that are building from anti-bird spikes nests, which is pretty sweet. They're like actually finding the anti-bird spikes and taking them away so they can land where they want, and then they turn them into nests, which is brilliant. And also in Santa Cruz, there's this. Where is that at? In Santa Cruz, there's this otter that's like beating people up and taking their surfboards. So
right, this is the child of Otter 723, and it's 8 something or another. What is it? 840. I can't remember, 846 or something. But there's only 3,000 otters in existence. Actually, they're on the endangered species list still.
And they're all
yeah, somebody in Santa Cruz punched this otter in the face when he was on their board, apparently. But this otter's been a menace. Biting people's surfboards and
they're
stuff.
Vicious weasels of the sea, you know.
Right.
So,
but yeah, he's making a scene. But yeah, I like that his parent was 723.
Yeah, be careful. Now, okay, so I was going to say about Star Wars. So I was in Croatia and I went to Bosnia, and Bosnia is amazing. And you look around it and like, it looks like Star Wars. I mean, I'm pretty sure Star Wars has there's a lot of similarities in terms of the story of the collapse of the civilization, of the religious orders there. I think Star Wars had, some of the Naboo or Tatooine, is it Tatooine? Wherever, not Tatooine. Yeah, maybe a little bit Tatooine, but mostly Naboo. Kind of reminds me of Sarajevo or Mostar, right? It's like super beautiful, has these kind of Star Wars buildings. And the thing is, I went to Disneyland recently, and I wanted to show Disneyland Tomorrowland 1955. So when Disneyland opened, what Disneyland was all about was corporatism. It's like, look, we've got the best. It's amazing. This is a sign of American potential. It's like Wonder Bread. There's so much of it. It's like the future. And they were showing how perfect things would be. That was the primary focus. There's not a lot of like pathos to Tomorrowland.
Isn't this sponsored by Monsanto?
So yeah, there was
Monsanto
DuPont,
and also
GMC,
Siemens,
Ford, everybody that they could get involved with it up until they probably killed Walt Disney, right? Because you look at Epcot, 1962 or whatever his video plan is. So when he was first trying to build Epcot, he was like, look, there's no way I can do this by myself. So first off, I'm going to secretly buy land with other people's names. And then I'm going to make this video and ask all the corporations to help me because I can't do it without America. So I'll build this city, but surprise. And then you can help me because it'll be GMC, alley, and it'll be like Ford Lane and all that kind of thing. And the corporations will be a part of it. And he really thought that would work. It's like, look, it's so good. Who could say no? And then he was dead 2 months later and probably
shit. Hey, doesn't that ball look like the ball underneath the foo dog's paw? The guardian foo dog for China?
Does that have like a geodesic sphere?
Yeah, I see that. I see
Las Vegas spheres.
But the Pucky ball.
Part of what was interesting about Star Wars, though, to people, was that it came after Dune and it came after Kubrick 2001. And 2001, Kubrick space architecture, maybe. It's just really pretty, is my point. You look at 2001 and it's this clean iPhone kind of looking reality. And that's not lived in. The vibe is less lived in. It's all clean and it looks fake. Like it looks like space from NASA or something not real. So what's interesting about Star Wars is it's all very real, very dirty, very lived in. And this is kind of also what's interesting about the Disneyland Star Wars. So I just was walking through and I noticed like, this just doesn't fit in Disney. It's awesome, but it's so heterodox. So here you've got bullet holes everywhere. And that's like a big part of what it is. They don't have any like Alderaan or pretty.
Those are laser blast holes.
Yeah, laser blasts. Right, laser blasts. And you still have mosque looking everywhere, just the same as most Star.
And you know, it was originally called the Black Spire, right? The Black
you see
Spire.
you see the Mickey Mouse in the laser blast right here. Come on,
hidden Mickey. Yeah,
there's a hidden Mickey right there. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's interesting. For whatever reason, that Disney would incorporate something that's all about dystopia and will literally put blast marks, bullet holes on the walls there, which makes Disneyland, Star Wars better. Like, because when I went to Croatia, part of the problem was that a lot of the bullet holes had been plastered over and cleaned up. So the blast marks in Star Wars, it felt like I was actually going into something more real than real life, because it's like a UNESCO site preserving the idea of war and destruction and civil unrest. And it kind of reminds me of like, you know, Africa or North Africa or something like that. It almost has the Tunisian vibe, but because of the war. So I don't know. That was my thought. I guess it just kind of seems strange to me that they would incorporate something that's so not to do with what Disney's plan was, which was to build like the empire, really.
Somebody said
has always been tied to the military. Disney. I mean, I was at the Lockheed. I was at the Lockheed Martin's compound in Saugus because earthquake destroyed our campus, and our board of trustee Disney was leading it, and they give us this military compound, to use for a whole year. So Disney has always been military.
The company that did the design the backlot to Walt Disney World and to Hollywood, they call it Hollywood Studios and MGM Studios, but that was a military contractor that also built military bases, and part of that was because Walt and the everyone else running it really had respect for how efficient the military could deploy, different people to different places so quickly and have this like backlot idea. So it wasn't designed by a studio exec, it was designed by military.
Yeah, a buddy of mine went directly from working in the underground part of Disney to working for Lockheed Martin. So I mean, I'm sure that
they do a lot of crossover work. Well, I mean, look at Victory in Air, which is basically Disney's like pro-war propaganda movie from the 60s. It's like an hour and a half of full animation. Victory by Air Power, that's the name of it. But I've
seen some stuff where Disney they built roads in South America, they built tunnel systems under airports in Venezuela, which I think the Venezuelan government now control. So that's why people know about them. So you can only imagine where they've done things elsewhere. So
yeah, like Denver, I hear that was Disney. No, just kidding.
That would be surprised.
I mean, what?
Just the airport.
So, but yeah, I mean, also just like the bullet holes thing. Like, so why because Disney, let's just look at Star Wars for a second. Alderaan, they could have made it look like,
how can you find Alderaan? Alderaan's gone.
See what I'm saying? Like, Disney could have done that though. They could
flowers for Alderaan.
We're building Alderaan, and it'll be Alderaan right here. And then if that's I don't know. Instead, they're going with the whole destruction dystopia.
Well, I mean, it's right in the name, right? Star Wars. It's not Star Peaceful Valley with green.
Can I do my spiel for a second with this person who says slipped us a Mickey? Where, just so you know, in Rosemary's Baby, it's Minnie who delivers Rosemary the Mickey, where she says it's a chocolate mouse, and she calls it a mouse instead of a chocolate moose, and it's what makes her go under before the impregnation scene that she got divorced over.
I was walking at Disneyland at night trying to get to the bathroom, and I ran into Minnie Mouse, and I just ran right into her. I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Minnie." I just felt so bad.
Was she trying to go into the men's room?
Yeah, that's what so my dad one time when we were kids, he's like, that's a dude, right? And he said it really loud, and all these kids were like, and then Minnie Mouse goes away, just immediately walks behind the wall, and then Goofy looks at my dad like, "Dude, really? What? Why?" It was bad.
They're starting to go
no longer slipping a Mickey, it's steaming a Willy.
Oh, right. But slipping a Mickey was a term before Mickey Mouse was around, just to be clear.
But they're definitely connected. So slipping a Mickey has to do with this Chicago bar where a lot of people were drugged, and Mickey was the owner of this bar. I forget the name of the guy now.
Is that what Club 33 is about? What goes on at Club 33 stays at Club 33. Let me tell you guys.
The only thing you can get, the only place you can get a drink besides Club 33 now is in the Star Wars Cantina. So you have to like get like a app, but you know, I mean, I still am grandfathered in or something from like Disney stuff. So I went to the Disney Cantina, and they have this foam that they put on your drink that foams your tongue and it numbs your mouth. Some chemical burn.
That's kind of cool, actually. But you have to use an app, so that means that like they're definitely checking how many drinks you've had.
Oh yeah, you can only have 2 drinks. Yeah, like
Andreas, I just loaded in the mailbox. I want to know if this is actually true. Disney, whether it has been tampered with. This loop cycle. This Mickey manufacturing a Swiss cheese.
Oh no, this is ripped from a bunch of different. Actually, the Steamboat Willie. These are just different elements. And actually, if you look at HSE Rex regulations, HSE didn't exist when Steamboat Willie came out.
This is some amiibo level stuff right here, man.
So somebody made it. Okay.
Yeah, someone turned that into a meme.
Okay, beautiful.
So make sure.
Yeah. The science behind Wet Enterprises, always trying to automate these things. Well, Water on Earth. We're pretty much at the end. Is there anything you guys wanna? Let me make sure.
I wanted to throw out that Epcot, I think, was a success. Because even though Disney didn't get to see his version through, which was a very racist version anyways, it would have been like a weird dystopian socialist bubble, but it is still endorsed by all these different companies. Like Eddie was saying, every like 3 or 4 years, that entire geodesic sphere, the Epcot sphere, it gets rebranded as like the AT&T sphere, the Siemens sphere. They've got the fast track where they sell the cars and stuff.
That was funny. I think I was there when it was the Siemens sphere.
Wasn't Epcot just going to be strictly songs from the South originally?
This is so much. Oh God! And they got rid of Splash Mountain, and I'll never go back because that's the most racist thing. Getting rid of Splash Mountain. Oh my God! Like
that was the best ride there. I don't care what anyone says.
Not only is it the best ride, someone else said, "Oh, like I agree, it's the best ride," but also like the movie is racist, right? It's like no, if you think the movie is racist, you haven't seen it because it's also it's so embarrassing that Disney thinks that the first movie that they actually brought a person of color to the Hollywood studios and then brought them to the Academy Awards and to the premieres and forced people in Atlanta to have a biracial premiere. That's racist. I don't know, but like it's an important movie, and also to hide it is to say that things didn't happen, which is like that's crazy to do.
Right. I agree.
It's like Aunt Jemima. You're raising her name and you're raising her picture. Nobody knows.
Yeah, but she's more innocuous. The thing about this is that Uncle Remus told tales from the Akan mythology, which were gentrified, sure, but again, it's the precedent of showing African mythology hundreds of years ago in American culture. As an American idiom, we had African mythology, and if we discount that, then we think we're only a Greek or Roman or British mythology based culture, and it's wrong and it's dangerous because then the future generations won't have any African mythology. An African American fusion culture has existed. It's important not to erase it.
Hey,
just because
I don't remember what happens. I'm sorry, but what happens with this bluebird in the movie? Do you remember? Is this a character? This bluebird?
Yeah, he's important. I don't. It's not like a major character like to the story though. He's a part of the Zippy-Doo song. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, now he's X'd out. He's been culturally.
That's kind of where I wanted to go with this. Is that this whole thing is like X'd out? And now you're looking. Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good synchronicity. First Splash Mountain and then Twitter. Okay, now I feel bad for the bluebird.
Well, what the heck? Because when I think we've gone over this, but like if I think bluebird, I'm automatic Project Bluebird original name for MK Ultra, right? And then I'm like to change that to X-Files. It's just there. It feels like it's part of a like that. As much as it bugs me, it kind of makes sense, you know.
It's an important move. Yeah, it's gonna. But also, I think people will be like, right, it's too clear, so therefore I'll ignore it and I'll act like it didn't happen. And I don't know. I'd like Disney World, but I think it is kind of this lawless weirdness because they killed Disney and then 20 years later they decided to go forth with building some place to hide their money. And yeah, they've got a bunch of different cultures. They got like 12 different cultures or something like that. But is that real? I mean, it's so weird to go to the Germany land and then they have like fake German music, and you can get beer in Disney World. That's
this to me is like the ultimate evolution of the 15-minute city because now you've got a 15-minute world.
Yeah.
speaking of Disney World, DeSantis, right? He's trying to revoke the land rights, right, for Disney World. I don't know how far that's come along, but DeSantis just got into a car accident today. So,
Oh, really?
so
I
just started wrapping up and like, oh, there's another weird sync.
Is that a in quotes accident?
I'm a big fan of the original
it was a 4-car pile up. I don't know, but yeah.
This is if you guys are gonna check out, go to thesyncbook.com and you can look up David's synchronicity music video work. This is Revolver from the Beatles with the Bluebird.
The Bluebird is from 1918. It's based on a Russian play, which was the inspiration, apparently, for the original version of MK Ultra. So, like, this movie was an obvious inspiration for The Wizard of Oz. If you look up the Bluebird on Wikipedia, you'll get the Shirley Temple one, which they'll say was like riding the coattails of The Wizard of Oz, but really it's the other way around. So. This is just a pairing I did with Beatles Revolver with this 1918 film, which is ultra weird and psychedelic, and but that book and the whole story of the Bluebird, it's like you can see like how influential this was even beyond just like the Wizard of Oz. I was
thinking the McCartney song, "I'm a Bluebird, I'm a Bluebird," which kind of sounds like. Yeah, code.
Totally. Well, there was Blue Jay Way, and so the sync starts out with Blue Jay Way, and then I go to Revolver. But
okay. And I'm showing this panel from my MK Ultra pamphlet that's linked down above. But this is the panel on Bluebird. So and funny enough, this is a 420 link too.
Oh, April 20, sweet. Is that 1950?
That is correct. Perfect. Yeah. So 42050 is when Bluebird got launched, and then that eventually evolves and it turns into a whole bunch of different things. Bluebird turns into MK Ultra. MK Ultra then, as it expands and goes across the world, it turns into MK Search. It turns into MK Often, MK Chickwit. There was one called Operation Derby Hat, and that basically they just represented the different areas that MK Ultra tactics were employed in different cities of the world. So, and that's my MK Ultra pamphlet.
Epic.
Sweet.
And you can get the MK Ultra pamphlet from paranoidamerican.com, the greatest comic book publisher in the world.
And I want to plug the my adrenochrome documentary called Thrill Oxide. If you just search for Thrill Oxide, I think it will be the first thing that comes up on YouTube. I hope so.
Thrill Oxide is going to be big. I'm going to watch this later because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's it right there. And because of that movie, again, this documentary, I had to make occultdecode.com. And I hopefully, if any of you guys like gematria at all, especially you cryptoologists, if you want like special features, you already Alex asked for a date calculator. That's 100% coming. Right now, I've been like incrementally adding new features, like that blur feature. Those are going to be big.
Sweet. Also, make sure you go to Synchronous. Make sure you're checking out all of Eddie's new posts. He's got a lot of important research. Is there something else you want to make sure that we covered, Eddie? We're talking about the alien invasion.
just come and join the group. And there's been I don't know. There's been a pile of news since you went on vacation. But
you can't go on any more vacations. We got too much. We got to unload, man.
I got to scroll back.
What does a dog do on his day off? Not lie around. That's his job.
What do you guys think? What do you think about this crazy structure in Las Vegas? This huge eyeball thing.
It's working. It makes me want to go.
Yeah,
I do too.
It's working, dude.
It feels like early
everybody
2000s
Don't
to
need an
me.
excuse, but
Yeah,
I can't tell if these are CGI or if these are legit too, because it would be so easy to just like superimpose all of these.
Well, pretty soon you just project it from the inside, so it'll look that good in real life anyway. It's hard to tell. And make sure you check out Alex Walton. Go to the Cryptocuberology Twitter page, and he's got a lot of important work. Is there something else that you were thinking?
X page. Well, not really. Tomorrow is Kubrick's birthday, and they're doing the government hearing on UFOs tomorrow morning.
Fun.
You can watch it on YouTube, and they're gonna have a bunch of limited hangout stuff probably, and advancing the narrative. So
UFO X,
but I've been doing a lot of tweeting, actually, and some pretty detailed stuff. If you have the patience for it.
How old would Kubrick be if he's still alive?
It's his 95th birthday would be.
Huh.
And it's 76 years after his 19th birthday when the CIA was created and everybody by Truman. So And I got a long thread there about Asteroid City, this latest Wes Anderson movie, which is, you know, he's got Jason Schwartzman.
Asteroid City, huh? We'll have to talk about that more next week. I'll watch it and we'll see what I find from that. And I'll make sure to check out the Real Oxide. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Totally. So yeah,
there's an uncensored version on Rockfin too. If you get annoyed by all the edits,
yeah, I'm gonna go to Rockfin. I'll watch the uncensored version. I'll play it somehow so you get a view. But I like to see my my full uncensored content. You know me. Well, everybody, we'll see you next time. Thank you for being here. We'll talk to you soon. And tomorrow is Wednesday Ultra. We're back on. Talk to you later. I love you. Bye.